Hi guys, welcome to AR with Venu. In this tutorial, you're gonna learn on how to use tweening to create animation on Lens Studio. So normally when it comes to creating lenses, you need to create like realistic type of effects where it allows users to have a good experience. However, when it comes to creating animation, you might need to look for third-party software such as After Effects, and let's say if you are using 3D models, you might need Blender or any other 3D modeling software that you prefer. However, when it comes to Lens Studio, you don't really need to have a lot of animations being done outside because the Lens Studio do have their own animation function. So they call it as tweening. So actually you can actually go to their documentation on their website and you can actually learn more on tweening and what is this what you call the JavaScript coding is all about. But in this tutorial I'm going to just touch basically on the types of tweening and what is tweening actually. So when it comes to tweening, you got to understand that tweening is just a function that allows you to do basic animation. So if you're thinking about doing some type of rigging, which means like think about human beings walking around, it's gonna be hard using tweening because there's no you can't create bones and stuff like that, just like how you can do using other type of animation software. However, when it comes to Lens Studio, you can do the basics one. So I'm going to teach you the basics one in this tutorial. So once I finish teaching the basics one, we will be creating a lens. So this lens is basically a lens where we're gonna cover the fading away effect that was so the fading away effect was done in a movie called Avengers, right? The the Infinity War, sorry. So in Infinity War, there will be some disintegration, right? So when Thanos snapped his finger, so everyone will just fade away. So we're gonna create that effect. So before we can just create that effect, I want you to learn the basics of it on how to create those kind of effects using tweening. Then we'll get to that lens. So let's start with going to the object panel. All right, so you can just click on Add New and just look for helper scripts. So in helper scripts, you will have all those scripts that are needed for you to kickstart your lens creation. So we're going to look for Tween Manager. All right. So just give it a moment. All right. So now you have Tween Manager and you can actually see the thing is actually moving over here. We don't really need that thing for now because I'll be teaching you from scratch on how to create that. Okay, so just delete the example. So you just have Tween Manager. So the first thing that you got to do is that bring the Tween Manager at the top of the object panel. So you just drag and just put it at the top, because every time whenever you want to do some kind of tweening in between, this will act as the global variable kind of thing. All right, so it allows you to actually do any sorts of tweening in between. Now, so let's look at the types of tweens that we have. Okay, so I'm going to just click on Add New. I'm going to have a 3D object, so I'm going to add a box. So this box will act as the demo part for us. So whenever we want to change the color, when we want to move from one point to another, we're going to use this box. All right, okay, so I'm going to just make this box smaller. Okay, this should be fine. I'm just going to bring it lower. Okay, now now you have the box, and then now every time whenever you want to add tweening effect to your object, the first thing that you got to do is that once you click on the object, you got to click on the add component part. So in Lens Studio, you can actually add a lot of components when it comes to it's more like changing the settings of the object, anything that is in the object panel. So think of it as if you're gonna change maybe the position, maybe the type of, maybe you want to attach it to something, or maybe you want to add an object or an image, things like that. So add component is one of the most important part under Lens Studio. So we're gonna click on script. So you're gonna work on some scripts over here. So just click add script. And one more thing is that you don't really need to code anything. Actually, basically everything has been given. All you got to do is try to understand how to use this thing. As soon as after you know how to use this, you don't even have to worry about the coding part. Okay, so now click on tween and then tween types. So now you have a few tween types. Okay, so you have tween alpha, tween chain, color, screen transform, and tween value. So I'll just go through few of those things. So tween alpha is basically an animation where you allow it to be transparent, and you can increase the transparency, so it's more like an animation kind of thing. And this is exactly what we're going to use later on to create the fading away, the disintegration effect that we saw in Avengers, the Infinity War. All right, tween chain is basically a combination of tweening, so we won't be covering that today. Tween color is basically changing the color, so it's gonna be like, let's say you want to have this box where you're going to change the color from white to maybe green, something like that. You can use tween color. Tween screen transform and tween transform. Okay, here's the most important thing about tween transform. You will have two types of tween transform. One is screen transform, another one just plain transform. Screen transform is used for anything related to screen transform. Okay, I'll just show you what I mean by that. So when you go to add new, you will have this thing called as screen image. Okay, so whenever you click on screen image and anything to do with screen image, and if you want to do any transformation using tweening, you need to use tween screen transform. You can't use tween transform. Okay, so do bear that in mind. So now I'm going to just click on the script, tween and tween type. So I'm going to use tween transform here because I just want to show you some of the movement that we can do using tweening, because it's kind of exciting to have this function in Lens Studio, because most of the time we will take, it's kind of hard for us to actually do animation using any other software, because you have a lot of unnecessary things that's not needed for you to create the experience that you want to create. Since Lens Studio is here with these functions, it allows you to just get that whole animation done within few minutes. So here's the thing. So first of all, when you click on tween transform, you got to look at this scene object. So when you click on scene object, you're going to click on the box, so you want to make sure that is basically what you're going to transform. And tween name, I'm going to rename this as rotate. I just got one, so make sure you just rename the tweens, because every time whenever you rename, it will help you to call back this tweening. So let's say you want to create an effect where you open your mouth and then the thing rotates, right? The object rotates. For you to be able to do that, you need to know the tween name, because it calls based on the tween name. Now play automatically, basically it keeps on playing, so you can choose whether you want to have loop, ping pong, or ping pong one. So ping pong is basically going forward and backward. I'll show you in a bit. Okay, now we're going to choose rotate. Okay, the type is going to be rotate, so we're going to have the starting is going to be just 0, but then the ending maybe you can have 5. So I think you would actually notice that movement. So maybe I can just put loop type is just loop. So here you can see it keeps on looping at 45 degrees in the Z axis. So these are all the axes. All right, so for the first one is basically the X axis, the Y axis, and the Z axis. So I'm just changing the Z axis part. Maybe I want to change the Y axis as well, and the X axis. So you can see the movement there, right? Okay, now you can choose actually if you want to have from to, or you want to have like offset. So offset is basically, let's say you don't want to change the position of this object. So let's say you added that position already and you don't want to do anything over here, because here you can see I need to put the starting angle and the ending angle. But then when it comes to offset, you don't really need to put. You can see, so it's like I can just move this object, and if I want to just change the angle, it will just change from that position. But let's say if I'm going to choose from to, you can see this is basically the angle will be different because of the fact that I'm changing the angle here from the starting point. Maybe this will make a lot of sense when I try to move the object, so I'll be doing it in a bit. Alright, so here's how you actually do the whole rotation part. You can actually choose the time. Maybe I'm gonna put it a bit like faster, so you can see it's moving a bit faster here. And here's the part where you can actually create it much more realistic. Okay, you can choose the easing function. So quadratic, you can actually try to experiment few of these things, because when you don't experiment, you really will never know what kind of effect you really want. So try to just experiment, just click on one of these things and you see if this is what you are looking forward to. The easing type, normally people will choose in and out, but it depends on your preference. It depends on the effect that you want. Okay, so that's pretty much it for you to actually do a rotation using this object. Okay, so I'm just gonna rename this box to rotate. Okay, now I'm gonna just duplicate this whole thing. Okay, I'm gonna rename this as move. So now we're gonna do a moving tweening. Okay, so we're gonna like do a tweening, but it's based on the movement. All right, so now I'm gonna rename this to move underscore 1. Okay, and then play automatically loop. Okay, now the type I'm gonna choose move. Okay, now here's the thing. So when I choose move from to, right, what happens is that it's moving from this position all the way up. So what I'm going to do is that I'm not going to choose from to, I'm going to choose offset. Okay, and then I'm going to make it, I want to move it upward. Okay, let me just move it down again. Okay, all right, so you can see it's coming towards, right? So I'm just going to change this to like 0, because this is not angle. I'm using x and y axis, right? So I'm going to use, let's say this is the, okay, let's just move to this left. Okay, I just need to refresh it. It's kind of slow a bit, but just bear with me here. And okay, now the offset is going to be towards the right, so I'm going to move this object to the right. So of course it's going to be, let's say positive 4. Okay, it's kind of short a bit. Okay, let's put 10, or maybe like 20. Okay, so you can see the movement, right, from left to right. Okay, now I'm going to move it like a slope, like I want to create a slope effect. So maybe I'm going to create like 5. Okay, you can see the slope effect, right? So it's like moving from left to right, but at the same time it's moving upward. So it's easy to create this kind of movement using tweening again. And yeah, so that's basically how you can actually create tweening effect for you to move from point A to point B. And again, you can actually choose different types of easing function, time, and etc. And you can also choose if you want to go front and back. So whenever you choose loop, what happens is that it's going from point A to point B, and then it will go from point A to point B again. But when it comes to like choosing ping pong, what happens is that it goes from point A to point B, and then from point B to point A, and that's one cycle. Okay, so that's exactly how it works. While delay is basically the delay that you're going to put for one cycle. So let's say I'm going to put 0.5. So you can see, right, that's one cycle, and then it takes 0.5 seconds. So that's exactly how we're going to use the movement type for tween transform. Now let's duplicate this, and we're going to rename this as color. So this should be interesting now, because color is one of the most like underrated part of tweening, because normally we won't use color, but color is like, it's very underused from my point of view. So maybe after this, maybe you can try to create more color based tweening. Okay, now I'm going to choose color underscore 1, so for the tweening. And then the type, I'm sorry, so here's the thing, I just forgot to actually tell you something. Here's the thing, when it comes to like color, you got to change the tween transform. So tween transform, when you look at the type, you only have move, scale, and rotate. You don't have color. So you got to change the tween transform script to tween types color. Now you have color, right? Now you need to choose, let me just let me just do this thing one more time. All right, now choose tween transform, tween types, and choose color, and let me see, color 1. Oh, sorry. I think I missed something here. Let me try this again. Add component, script, add script, tween types, tween color. Okay, now I got it. All right. So I think maybe there's some issues just now, but no problem. You can just go to just color, and then you can put tween name as color. All right, now you're gonna choose this color right now. So the starting will be white. Now you're gonna put the ending maybe like, I'm gonna choose, okay, I'm gonna choose this color. So you can see the color changes from one to another, but it doesn't loop, right? So I'm gonna click, yeah, maybe ping pong should be white. Okay, from white to that brown thing, and then brown color, brown, and it goes back to white, and then brown, and then white. Blue and white and blue and white kind of thing. Okay, now it's because you chose ping pong. Now you can actually disable the play automatically thing whenever it comes to like you enabling it based on a trigger. So let's say you want to do open mouth or stuff like that, and then when you do that thing, what happens is that the color changes, but you don't want to do that now. You just want to play it like automatically. Now when it comes to like the color, you can choose, and of course if you want to use different types of tweening in the same object, for the same object, it's possible. So I'm going to show you how to do that. Okay, for that, let me just disable this part, all right, the movement part, because kind of like it's not going to help us here when we want to do something on the color object. Now add component, the color object, script, and add script to tween types. Now we can choose tween transform. Now again, tween transform, click on the object. We're going to use the color object, and we're going to put move underscore 2, and I'm going to put offset, and I think this should be, let me just move it to the left so that we can have the movement effect as well. I'm going to put 20. So now you can see the color is being moved, the color is being changed. At the same time, there's some movement. Right, so I'll just put ping pong. Now you can see, because I have the color script over here, so I change the color over here. At the same time, the tweening is working. Basically the animation is going on for the color. At the same time, the animation for the movement is going on. Now you might be wondering, how about adding another script? Will it be possible? Of course it's possible. You just need to add a script under it, and then add script, tween types, and then you can change, maybe I want to do this scaling part because I haven't showed you how to scale, right? And then scene object, color, maybe I'm going to put scale, let's go 1, and for offset, I always choose offset because that's the easiest, because I already know where I'm positioning it when I add that object here, so I don't have to look for the right measurement here and then putting it under this when I'm going to use offset. Offset is kind of like very easy for me to do, so I just use offset. Now for the scaling part, I'm going to make the x-axis kind of like bigger, right? Okay, now I'm going to use, let's say 5. Let me see, maybe 40. I'm so sorry, I never choose the type right just now. Okay, scale. Okay, maybe 40 is too big. Maybe 1. Okay, now we put 0.5. So that's x-axis. So when you can see that it's more like the width is it's becoming longer. So that's basically the x-axis part. Maybe I don't want to change. Yeah, I should change x-axis actually. But what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to put a loop type of ping pong again. I think maybe I should make it smaller. In that sense, you will have a better view. Okay, now I'm going to put 1. Okay, I think you can see the effect now. So it's becoming smaller and it's moving. It's becoming smaller. It's smaller and it becomes bigger, and then it's moving from point A to point B. At the same time, the color is being changed. So you can actually add all these 3 things under one object with no issues at all. Alright, so that's basically it. That's how you actually do tweening for almost any objects. And if let's say you're gonna add an image, you can also use tweening, but do remember to use tween screen transform. So now let's get into the main part of this tutorial where we're gonna create the disintegration effect. Alright, so what I'm gonna do right now is that I'm just gonna click on file, new project. So if you want to save, you can definitely save. I'm not going to save here, so I'm just going to go into loading project part. All right, now what we're going to do is this. Like I said just now, we're going to create the Infinity War effect where when the superheroes are just like, you know, fading away. So for us to create that, of course we got to use one of those tweening, right? And the best tween type that you can use for this effect, to achieve this effect, is basically the alpha, the tween alpha part. So I'm going to click on add new, and let me go to helper script, tween manager. Okay, I'll just give it a moment here. Okay, so you have that examples part. I'm just going to delete. Again, just put at the top of the object panel. Now, so the first thing that you got to add is a screen transform. Okay, for you to add a screen transform, you got to have a screen image. So I'm going to click on screen image under object panel. Okay, I'm going to rename this. Let's rename it. Okay. I'll just put. So there is no specific reason why I'm using these words. It's just like, I mean, it's just random. Okay, but do rename. I see most of us, when it comes to like creating lenses, what we forget, I mean, what we tend to like, you know, like just miss out is the fact that we're supposed to rename, but we don't rename. So what happens is that whenever you want to like change something, it takes a lot of time for us to just, you know, scroll down and look for the right one and then changing the whole thing. It's kind of like, you know, annoying. So you don't have to go through that thing. You can just like, you know, rename that thing when you're doing, so that it's easy for you to find out later. Now you have disappear. So here's the thing, what we're gonna do right now is we want to make sure we create your face basically. All right, we're gonna create your face, and that face is gonna like, you know, just disappear. I mean, just fades away. So for us to do that, first thing is this. We're gonna click on render target and make sure we change the input for render target, which means I give you an idea here. So let's go to disappear here, and for this texture, let's just click on texture and device camera texture, and I make it smaller here. You can see there's a double right here. So what happens is that, let's say if I'm gonna make the tween alpha and I'm gonna make this thing as to disappear, it won't be as nice as how we want to achieve, because the back, you can see the background here, you still have your face and it won't disappear actually, because you're just making this object to disappear. Okay, so for us to make like the whole face to disappear, what we're gonna do is this. We're gonna choose a background. So regardless of whether someone is changing their camera to back or front, we're gonna have a static background. So what you're gonna do with that, to achieve that effect, you gotta go to render target, you gotta change the input. So before we can actually change the input, we should have something. All right, so I've downloaded a PNG file for this purpose. It's like, let me just get it for you. Sorry for the delay. So I got this thing, it's called Snowy Trace. It's just random. I just added that thing here. Okay, so it's gonna look like this. So your background in your front camera and also for your back camera, it's gonna be this. So on render target, I'm just gonna change the input to Snowy Trace. Now you can see my face is no longer there, right? So because the render target is basically just capturing this input where it's just a static image. Now, since we already achieved this effect, what's going to happen is this. We're going to make this thing bigger. Okay, let's make it full screen. Okay, now here's the thing. We already have the disappear part. Now it's very easy for you to do. Just go to that object, add script, and then tween types, tween alpha. I think you just saw something just happened over there, right? Okay, again, just the basics things, just like what I taught you just now. Just put fade, and then maybe you can just put loop. So you can see it's kind of it's disappearing, but this is not exactly what you want, but you have already gotten the main idea. This is how you're going to make it disappear. So what you got to do here is this: you don't want to have that background, you just want you have the face. So what I mean by that is, okay, let's just disable this. Okay, now here's the thing: you don't want to have this, all right? You just want to have that face of yours. You don't want to have this background. So for you to do that, there's this thing called segmentation. So in Lens Studio, you can actually segment your face and your background. So it's more like you can change the background image and also the image on your face, things like that. And I'll definitely cover that in the next tutorial. But for now, what we're gonna use is that we're gonna use a particular part on that being used in segmentation. So it's called as, let me just get it for you, segmentation texture. You just need to go to under resources panel and then add new, go for segmentation texture, and then portrait background. So what happens is that when you click on portrait background, this whole part, right, will disappear. But we're going to do some settings here for us to be able to do that thing. So for that, go to disappear. You will have a material, click on the material, you got to add new, just click on a simple PBR. So, and then here, just rename this to fade material. Okay, now you have a fade material. Okay, what you got to do is this: just disable every single thing down here, because you don't need any of this. Okay, you don't need any of these things. Okay, now for the fade material, the texture, you're gonna click on the texture and you're gonna click on device camera. Now whenever you change something here, things will change over here as well. All right, so do bear that in mind. Now you have the fade material texture, so you have the texture texture, which is your face, but you don't want to have that background. So for that, you gotta go to blend mode, normal, and then opacity texture. Okay, you will have this, it's okay, no issues. Click on texture for the opacity texture and click on portrait background segmentation. So actually you will have this, and you can actually move your face, and then you will see there's something like this, because you want to make sure you want to have just your face, right? But here's the thing: your portrait background segmentation is segmenting your background and your face. Your face just adapts to that background that we already have before this, the snowy thing, while the white one, which remains as your background, will just stay there. So we're going to inverse that thing. So how do we inverse? Go to portrait background segmentation. So you got to change, you just click on invert. Then to make it much more realistic, make it bigger, and then put it the loop type, and then you can just click on loop. So that's exactly how you can actually create a fading effect. So maybe if you want to make it even realistic, you can just add the time. So it's like, okay, so that's basically how, or maybe you can put like starting. So I should just put starting is 1, ending is 0. So that's basically what we're supposed to achieve, which means starting is that you have the face, and the ending part you don't have the face anymore, it just fades away. So I'm going to fade 2 seconds. So this is just basically in terms of seconds. So here you go, you just created the Infinity Wars effect. And obviously you can add more elements to it to make it much more like realistic. And yeah, so that's about it. That's exactly what I wanted to actually like cover in terms of tweening and how you can actually use tweening, because I believe tweening is one of the most powerful things that Lens Studio has ever like integrated into their software. The team has ever integrated into their software. And do use this function whenever you feel like you want to do the basics animation. And again, there's no coding involved, there's no like high level animations involved. All you got to do is just follow this tutorial and you can already create whatever effects that you want to create using these functions. I hope you like this video, and do subscribe to this channel, because I'll be putting more videos on Lens Studio and Spark AR, which gonna cover in-depth creations, lens creations, filter creations, and how you can actually use basic functions to create hyper realistic lenses and filters. Alright, do like and share this video if you find this valuable, and I'll see you in the next video.